Hello, I'm Tom Jesper, also known as the XPresso Man. Today I'm going to be bringing you my first tutorial on using XPresso, and it is going to be, excuse that little pop-up, it is going to be on the basics of XPresso, literally the basics. So we have our blank scene here in Cinema 4D, and what the first thing that we're going to want to do is make a controller object. Now that is just simply a null, so we'll go up to objects, then null, create a new one. We can name this controller, C-O-N-T-R-O-L-L-E-R, controller. But it's nothing, it pretty much doesn't exist. So what we need to do is add something to it. So we're going to right click, Cinema 4D tags, XPresso. There we go, and that little thingy pops up. But there's nothing in it. So at the minute, it is just a tag with nothing attached to it. So what we're going to do is we're going to drag in this controller, make it bigger. I'm going to teach you these first things. First things first, so it's the best thing to do. So on the left we have this blue channel. Now the blue channel is the input. So whatever goes into this, well, it's not a null object, it's now the controller. Whatever goes into this controller, any numbers that we want to go into it, go into the blue channel. I need to stop that from popping up. Go into the blue channel, but everything else goes out of it. So if we want to know the position, if we want something to be exactly the same position as the controller, we're going to want to output the position from this one. But if we want the controller to be the same position as something else, we need to take the input. That's going to keep popping up, isn't it? So they're the basic gists of the input and output. So what we're going to now see what we can do. So we're going to create a new cube, just in the background there, and we're going to drag that into the XPresso. And we're going to make this bigger so I can show you what we're doing. There we go. Right, we've gone to the cube in the Objects Manager down here. In the inputs, in the inputs and the outputs, they're both exactly the same. I lie, no they are not, but they are pretty much the same. Sorry about that. So, first thing we'll have is a basic properties tab, where we've got enable, layer, name, use color visible, notator visible, and renderer, and X-ray. Now I don't know if you guys recognize this, but if we go over to here, so outside the XPresso, inside the cube, then go on basic, we actually have exactly the same as what is in this. Sorry, XPresso is quite fiddly to use when you're trying to record, because I don't have a good mic, so I've got to record on my phone, which isn't brilliant. So basic properties is the same as the basic tab inside the object, and it's the same for the coordinates. We have exactly the same. If we go into coordinates, the only difference is we now have something called global position and global rotation, which basically is where the object is positioned in the. If we take this whole the whole scene file from Cinema 4D and imagine that to be a world, the global position and global rotation is the orientation of the object inside that world relative to everything else. Which sounds quite complicated, but I'm doing AS level physics and it is still complicated. So we now have a thing called global matrix as well, which is the global position and global rotation pretty much combined. History level, no idea what that is, but I'll have to read into that. Local matrix is the object relative to itself, if that makes sense. But we'll come on to that later. Object properties down here are the same as the object here, and we should have something. No, it's fine. So what are we going to do today? We are going to make something extremely simple. We are going to want to make a null object that controls this cube. So what we're going to do is we're going to rename this null to position. Yeah, right. And then we want to go to, is it basic or is it object? No, it's object. And we're just like changing the shape of nulls. so you can see them better. Make this one bigger. There we go. So at the moment, we can do this. Yay, we're moving a null, which isn't very interesting. But what you could normally do is right-click on the cube, character tags, constraint, make a new PSR, then add a target, drag in the position, done, and then hit the P. And now, this stupid pop-up, sorry if it's annoying you guys, I'll find a way to get rid of it. If we move it, the cube moves with it. But it's not good, because the position of the cube has to be exactly the same on the X, the Y, and the Z, or Z axis, which isn't particularly what we want. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete those tags, move this cube back down. What we are going to want to do is we are going to want the cube to follow this, just along the X and the Z planes, while staying at its original Y height. So we're going to go into the position. Sorry, no, we're not. We're going to go into the XPresso by double-clicking this tab. We are going to drag in the position null. Make it a bit bigger so you can see. Whoops, sorry. Make it a bit bigger so you can see. Move the cube out of the way. So what we want is we want the cube position to be the same as the position. Yeah, I named that position. I really shouldn't have done that. As the null object. So what we want is we want the null object position so we want the coordinates, global position. Now if we're going to want to do the same as what we did before and have it follow on every single axis, we would simply just do global position. But we don't. We only want it on the X and the Z axis. So we global position X, and then we're going to do the same global position Z. Then we're going to do exactly the same on the cube object itself. So coordinates, global position X, cube, coordinates, global position Z. And so we are going to simply join these up. If you've ever used After Effects, this is exactly the same as what's called a pick whip, where you just link the objects together by dragging, and it makes these lines. You can delete them by clicking them, but we don't really want to be doing that. Right. So now we can just minimize that down. We now have this null object that is able to change the position of this, not on the Y-axis, because we didn't want that, just on the X and the Z. And I think we will leave that for now. Thank you very much for watching. I've been Tom Jesper. If you'd like to rate, comment, subscribe, my channel information is in the description, and there will be plenty more tutorials on the way. Some Cinema 4D, not necessarily XPresso, some Photoshop, some After Effects, and lots more XPresso, I would say. So thank you very much for watching. Peace.